sabor zuliano y calor humano. Los quesos en casa tienen vitaminas, rápidos de hacer en cualquier cocina. Tan fácil como pelar mandarinas. Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor Quesero te enseña con sabor. Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor Quesero te enseña con sabor. Hago queso hermano, también queso pera. Costeño, matera, paipa, pan y zulia. Y hasta doble crema. Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor Quesero te enseña con sabor. Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor Quesero te enseña con sabor.
Hi everyone, welcome once again to my YouTube channel, Dr. Quesero TV. And this is my English version of my program, Ask the Cheese Doctor. And the idea is that this is an open window for people who want to learn how to make cheese and they don't speak Spanish, as you might know. My name is Dietrich Truxes, and I am the cheese doctor, Doctor Quesero in Spanish. And this program, as I said, is dedicated to people who don't speak English, okay, who don't speak Spanish. My idea is, if you want to learn how to make cheese, you are in the right place. Come every week to my channel, and you will be able to learn how to make cheese. Anyway, if you want to learn accordingly and you want to learn seriously from the best, I have a cheese making course for beginners, and I will put the link later on. So, and in this way, you will be able to learn and know what happened into your cheese, and you will be able to make any type of cheese, not only the cheeses from your country. You will be able to make any type of cheese. You will be able to make Gouda, Emmental, blue cheeses, pasta filleted cheeses like mozzarella, provolone, scamorza, etc. Any type of cheese, because I will teach you how to what's happening into the cheese and how to evolve, how to what to do when things don't go right, when something's going wrong. So I'll teach you what to do. Okay, so we are almost 1,600 or 16,500 subscribers. Thank you all for all the support. Exactly, we are 16,464 subscribers. Without you, we wouldn't have any show. I really appreciate that. And this compromised me to look for more content to give you more content, to give you information so you can learn how to make cheese. As I said, my English, this is my iPad. As I said, my English course is here. By the way, this English course is not in, even though all the videos are in Spanish, they are captioned in English, Arabic, Chinese, and Hindi. So if you speak one of these languages, you will be able to learn, because it's all captions. All the videos are like this, okay? And you will really learn. And beside that, you will be part of a community in Facebook. This is going to be a private course, a private group called the Cheese Making University is the private group, and you will be interacting with your students and with me as well and my assistants. And if you have any doubt, you will be able to resolve your doubt. And I will make private streamlines like this one. This is public, but I will make them privately once a month, so we can interact together, and I will share information related to the cheese making business and cheese, also cheese making. For example, new bacteria, new techniques that you might apply. And the good thing is that this program doesn't expire. Once you are part of this program, you can watch the video forever, anytime you want. Anytime you want, you still can come back to watch the videos again and interact with us forever, until I die, of course. And I hope God gave me a lot of health for to share with you a lot for a long time. Okay, today we're going to speak about we've been making presentations about how the cultures work. My idea is that you can develop your own mixture or your own mix of cheese cultures. Um, and I'm going to teach you how to do it. Okay, it's a 3 series programs. We're gonna be in part two. Today's part two, but anyway, I'm going to review quickly part one, so you guys, for the newcomers, for the newcomers, you can understand what I'm talking about. Last week we talked about the Mesophilic cultures. Today we're going to speak about the Thermophilic cultures. How do they work? What are the names of the bacteria? I'm going to go a little bit deeper in this, not so deep because it's not the scope of this course of this presentation, but at least you know what is going on and what is going on, what are their names and stuff. Okay, so let me first, of course, if you have any comment to make here, you're more than welcome to do that. But your comment should be in English because you are this program, as I said, is dedicated for English speakers. I'm going to share my screen and make the presentation for you guys. We're having more people connected every week. Thanks for that. I really appreciate the support. And let's go with the presentation. Okay. Okay, here we are. Let's go and talk about first. Let's give a quick review. As I said, to make cheese, we need lactic cultures. And all the cheese makers have made recipes and they put the type of bacteria and the amount that they put in the bacteria, but that they put in the recipes, but they don't tell you the whole story. This bacteria or this amount of lactic culture that they said they put in their cheeses is because they have made tests, random tests, and they have been calibrated in the process until they get a reasonable product. But the excellent product, they're not going to give you the recipe because it's their recipe. When I learned how to make, when I was learning how to make mozzarella, I remember that I went to a cheesemaker company, cheese making company here in New Zealand, and I took a course with this guy. And of course, he gave me the curd already acidified, and I stretched it, and my mozzarella was beautiful. And then when I tried to do it myself, I couldn't do it because I didn't know that the key to make mozzarella was to control the acidity. He didn't tell me that. He just told me, just put the lactic culture, and the mozzarella will tell you. This is what he told me. And of course, I spent, I reckon, $50, and I wasted my money. I even told him, hey, man, I called him back the next day. Hey, I tried to make the mozzarella and it didn't stretch. What happened? She will stretch. Yeah, but let's do something. I will work with you for free in your factory, so you can teach me how to do it. And then he told me, no, I can't tell you that. This is my family recipe. I can tell you my secret. So I wasted my money. With this technique that I'm going to teach you now, you're going to be able to do it. You're going to be able to develop your own mixture. You're going to be able to develop your own mix of lactic cultures according to your criteria. And because I'm going to teach you all the, I'm going to give you all the tools so you can do that. Okay. Of course, you have to know what type of bacteria do we have. So, in general terms, going quickly for the last week, from last week, we have the lactic culture. The lactic cultures are mesophilic and thermophilic. Okay. Very important that when we are going to choose a culture, we have to know if the culture, the type, if it's mesophilic or thermophilic, the breeding temperature, which I'm gonna tell you quickly, and what does the bacteria produce, acid, etc. So in general terms, the way to name this lactic culture is naming the family first, then the species, and then the subspecies. This SSP always comes in the if the culture has a subspecies, we have to put this term SSP. For example, you can say Lactococcus lactis, and because it has a subspecies which is lactis as well, we call them Lactococcus lactis SSP lactis. Okay. For example, the also Another culture would be Lactococcus lactic, SSP cremoris. It's another culture. And I'm gonna teach you, and I'm gonna show you more or less the name, the most common ones. Okay, so the first two are this one, the Lactococcus lactis and Lactococcus lactis sublactis and Lactococcus lactis subcremoris. Okay, we say SSP cremoris. So both of them are mesophilic. The temperature are between 29 and 29 and 35 degrees. It doesn't mean that we cannot expose, for example, the second one, the cremoris, to 35. No, um, both of them, they can stand up to 40 degrees Celsius. More than 40 degrees, the bacteria might die. It might die. Okay. So what I do is when I use this type of culture, I don't heat the milk higher than 40 degrees. If I'm going to use more than 40 degrees, I change the lactic culture. I use a thermophilic one, which is the one that we're going to study afterwards. Okay, so both of them have the salt intolerance. If you want to go in detail, how what is their information, go to the last program, and you will be able to know them all the data. Okay, and all the information in detail. So the other two are the Lactococcus lactis, Sulactis, Biovar, Diacetyllactis, and the Leuconosco. The first two produce acid. These two produce acid and flavor. The Diacetyllactis produce acid, flavor, and also produce gas. And the Leuconosco only produce gas and flavor. So it's your choice if you're going to use which one do you want to use. Okay. Next week, I'm going to teach you how to combine them, and we're going to make several exercises. Okay, so and you will be able to develop in this way. But you have to understand first how do they work, what other temperatures, what salt intolerance, what salt tolerance level do they have, and because you have to learn this first to design your own mix. Because if you don't know how do they work, you will not be able to know how to mix them, okay, or how to combine them. As I said, these two, the second one produce flavor and gas. Okay, now let's go. The first four. These first four are mesophilic ones, which means all of them works between 29 and 35. Put it as a number, as a range. Mesophilic, the ideal temperature between 29 and 35. In this range, you will be able to work accordingly, pretty much for all of them. Okay, of course. This one, the Leuconosco is between 30 and 32, but it's between 29 and 35, so more or less. So use this range as a guide from 29 to 35, and you will not have any problems combining or heating your milk to use this type of lactic culture. Okay, now let's go with the thermophilic ones. As I said, the mesophilic cultures are lactic cultures. They are bacteria, all of them, that they are into the milk, or we have to put it into the milk if we use pasteurized milk. Because what happens when we pasteurize the milk, we kill the bad bacteria, all the pathogens, but we also kill all these lactic cultures, and we have to put them back again. But we need to know which type of bacteria are we going to put. Raw milk has all of them. All of them, the first four that I already talked about, and these thermophilic cultures as well. They have all of them. They also have raw milk, also have yeast, natural yeast. We call it native yeast, and has bacteria that produce gas, etc. Okay, so because when we pasteurize the milk, we kill them all, and there is no live organism into the milk, so we have to put them back again. And this is what we're doing. So if we are heating the milk above 40 degrees, we use thermophilic cultures. These thermophilic cultures are more or less used when we make cheeses that need to be cooked. For example, mozzarella. When we make also provolone, Italian cheeses, Dutch cheeses, French cheeses use this more or less this type of culture. It doesn't mean that you cannot use the mesophilic ones, because you can mix them and use and divide your process, for example, in two. Heat the milk and start heating the milk at a low temperature, and start acidifying with the mesophilic culture. And then when you cook your curd, you inoculate your milk with the thermophilic culture. When their milk reached 40, 45 degrees, depending on the temperature that you decide, you're gonna kill the mesophilic culture, but you're gonna still have bacteria producing acid because they are thermophilic. And this is what you need to know when you make the cheese, when you are making cheese either commercially or at home. What type of bacteria are you gonna use, depending of the cheese that you're gonna make? Okay, so the first thermophilic culture is called Streptococcus thermophilus. This is the optimum temperature for heating is between 40 and 45 Celsius. They only produce acid, okay, and they have a salt tolerance between 2 and 3%, which means if you're going to use if you're going to this is 3 grams per each 100 milliliters. So if you're going to use, for example, if you're going to make 8 liters of milk, 8 liters of milk times 3%, 8 liters of milk times 3% is 90 grams of salt. Okay, so if it is 3%, of course, this bacteria have this tolerance of salt, this salt tolerance between 2 or 3%. So when you add it, if you put more salt than 3%, you're gonna kill the bacteria. So you have to be aware of that. Okay, so if you are making a cheese that has 5% of salt, you cannot use Streptococcus thermophilus because you're gonna kill it. Okay, or if you're going to kill it, you have to be aware that you're killing it, which it doesn't matter if you kill them, but the bacteria have to produce the acid first. And once you have your pH target, okay, heat them up, do whatever you want to do, heat the curd, kill the bacteria, and doesn't matter, the enzymes that the bacteria has produced will still remain into the cheese and will carry on aging your cheese. Okay, but as I said, this is the process that you have to learn. Another type of bacteria is the Lactobacillus delbrueckii subspecies bulgaricus, which is also a thermophilic culture. The ideal temperature is between 45 and 48. It doesn't mean that you can, if you heat at 49, you're gonna kill the bacteria. No, the bacteria dies more or less at 50, 55 degrees Celsius. They die. If you heat at 50, if you heat your milk at 44 or at 40, you still have activity over there, but the activity will be less. This is the optimum temperature where the bacteria have a maximum, and the rate of reproduction is maximum. Okay. The first one has a salt tolerance, as I said, 2 and 3%, and it's very sensible. The Streptococcus thermophilus is very sensible to antibiotics. The Bulgaricus is not very sensible to antibiotics, and between 1 to 6, he has a sensibility of 1. The other one is very sensible. He has a max sensibility, which is 6. So you have to be aware of that. Anyway, if you are using milk from the supermarket, you can forget about the sensibility to antibiotics, because the suppliers, their quality controls consider this antibiotic variable. So in general terms, milk from the supermarket shouldn't have any antibiotics, so you can forget about it, because they have to comply with quality systems, and they need to make tests about it, and they need to and guarantee that the product that they sell into the supermarket have to be free of antibiotics because it's a standard that they need to comply. And but if you're using raw milk, you have to consider this because maybe your suppliers have cows that are sick and he doesn't care, and he's selling you the milk, and he's giving antibiotic to the cows, and maybe he doesn't care, and he's selling because he just want to sell the milk, and this milk that is produced that has antibiotic can be sold because it's not correct. But if he doesn't have any criteria, it's not very honest or it's dodgy, he might sell you the milk, and you have to be aware of that. So if you're using this Streptococcus thermophilus, to put an example, and you know that your milk is not acidifying, one of the reasons is maybe the milk has been sold to you with antibiotics. Okay, so you have to be aware of that. Okay, the other two are these two, the Lactobacillus helveticus, which is also a thermophilic culture. The temperature is between 40 and 45 degrees Celsius. Only produce acids as well. All these thermophilic ones produce only acid. The helveticus is very sensible to antibiotics, and the salt tolerance is 3%. So if you are making a cheese, I normally, when I make cheeses, I don't use more than 2%, 3%, unless unless I use I make Roquefort, for example, which is 5%, and if I'm going to salt it, I have to have the cheese first made and then salted. In this case, for example, if you are going to make Roquefort, blue cheese, to put an example, you first have to make your cheese, and then you have once the pH target is reached, and you have reached your acidity level, whatever, you have to salt it. Of course, you're not going to be able to salt it before molding. You have to salt the cheese after molding. How do you do in this case? You put the cheese in brine. So the cheese is already done. It's already finished. You just put it in brine, and then the bacteria will die. Doesn't matter, but the enzymes will remain, and the cheese will start to ripen and will start to mature and produce the flavor and the gas, if you want to produce gas, or the mold, if this is the case that you've already put mold in your cheese, and the cheese will develop, the mold will grow into the cheese. Okay, this is the process. Another bacteria that you have to use, or you can use, is the Lactobacillus lactis. It's another thermophilic one. Okay, the same is and it works in the same range between 40 and 45 degrees Celsius. And their main functions as well is produce acid. It's pretty much the same profile as the last one, 3% of salt tolerance, and that is less sensible to antibiotics. It's between 1 to 6 is number 3. So I have put you photos over there. You really don't need to know the photos, but when we're saying that it's a lactobacillus, is the bacteria have like a pill form, like a pill. It's very long. Instead of the mesophilic ones that are shorter, they are a little bit shorter, and like a beam. These bacteria, these thermophilic ones, are like like a pill. The other ones, the mesophilic, are like a bean, grain, something like that. Okay, so as I said, these are the four that we pretty much have on the market. This is the one that I use, and it's up to you how to combine them. But how to combine them, I will teach you in the next class. In the next week, I'm going to teach you how to combine them. Of course, when we make cheese, we also make art, and it's your choice how you're gonna combine them. You can combine these two, for example, or only one in your cheese recipe. This is your choice, and this is your decision as a maker or as a cheese artist. Because when we make cheese, we make art. Okay, so let's go with the Q&A. Let me finish here. Let me stop sharing the screen. And that's the idea. And I'm going to tell you now. I have some questions from the audience. And also, if you have any question, you can ask me whatever you want. And of course, you have to be in English, okay? First, please. I would appreciate that. Or if you don't speak English and you want to ask me in Spanish, I will answer in English because that's the idea. Okay, so I have a question here from, let me see. This week I have a lot of questions. I'm also in some cheese making groups that they watch my channel, so I answer the questions as well. And let's see here. Ramiro from USA. He said, "Do you have any advice on how to start a private cheese making business? It would be a small business to start out. I know I cannot legally begin one out of my home in the United States. Should my first step to be search for a commercial space or to get a food processing license? My family owned a successful cheese making business for years in Nicaragua, but I am new to business ownership in New York." Okay, Ramiro, look, that's a very compromising question because, but anyway, I'm gonna give you my opinion. To be to make money in cheese, you have to make it depending of their niche that you're going to attack. If you're going to make, for example, cheddar, which is a cheese widely sold around the planet, you're going to have to move a lot of milk. You have to process a lot to have a good profit. It takes the same time to make 500 liters of milk than making 20 liters of milk. It's the same time because you are ripening the milk 1 hour to awake the bacteria, 1 hour to coagulate, and the rest of the time is to get the texture to reach the pH level, which is dependent, is the same rate of acidification because the thing is that what is the difference is that you're going to put more bacteria because you're putting more milk or you're using more milk, but it's the same process. If you get your pH target in 2 hours or 3 hours, you have to use X amount of lactic cultures. Okay, but it's the same. And to mold 500 liters of milk or 1,000 liters of milk with 2 people, you can do that. You can even do it yourself. Maybe you will take 1 hour, one additional hour, but the process is more or less the same in cost. Talking about cost per hour, labor cost per hour. So if you're gonna make 8 liters, you're gonna spend the same time, but you're gonna have 1 kilo. If your cheese making process lasts, to put an example, 5 hours, start at 7 o'clock or at 6 o'clock, finish at 11, 5 hours. Okay. If you are making 1,000 liters, which is pretty much 1,000 liters divided by, let's say, 125 kilos, you're going to produce in 5 hours 125 kilos. You're making 10 liters, you're going to produce the same, you're going to spend the same 5 hours, and you're going to produce only 1 kilo of cheese, and the cost per labor will be higher. So to watch the money, to have a good profit, you have to manage big amounts. Of course, to do that, you have to have a permit. The first thing that you need to do is to get you, if you plan your stuff. If you want to work from home, go for it. I started from home. I'm still working from home. The thing is that I can manage big amounts. So I prefer to attack another niche, which is teaching. I teach people all around the planet, and this is why you are here, because you want to learn how to make cheese from me. And this is what I do. I teach people how to make cheese. It doesn't mean that I don't know how to make how to manage a factory, because I know I have the knowledge to, because I did it. Okay, I thankfully in New Zealand we can have a legal business at home. Of course, we have to comply with all the premises that the New Zealand government requires related to food safety. So you have to comply with your food safety in your country. If your country demand that you have to have a factory, you have to have a factory, but you have to have your permit first. Okay, and you have to manage your quality, have lab controls, you have to make lab tests, and get your permit. But to make money, you have to manage big amounts. Of course, you can compensate all this infrastructure that you have to invest, because you have to buy machines and you have to buy pasteurizers and all this stuff, and you can make it from home, but making a different product. Instead of making cheddar, you can make, to put an example, the cheese from your country, from Nicaragua. You can make queso chontaleño and sell it to the Nicaraguan community in New York, and they will pay any price for it, because they will not find the chontaleño cheese in New York. They will have to go to Nicaragua to find it, and it's more expensive to travel to Nicaragua than buy the cheese from you. This is what I do. I sell Venezuelan cheeses. Okay, I don't sell cheddar. I don't sell camembert, because it's not worth it. I have heaps of cheddar here. Camembert, we can find it any corner. So, but I sell the product for my country, because it has low competition, and I can sell it at a reasonable price, so I can have a reasonable profit. Okay. I hope I have answered your question. Let's go here. Hi, Manal. How are you? Welcome to my show. Manal, always come to my show. Thank you very much. I really appreciate that. She has a question here. Let's go. When I put mesophilic cultures and thermophilic, what the ideal temperature for this culture? Okay, look, Manal, if you are putting both, it has to be for a reason. Okay, for example, you can use mesophilic cultures because you need to produce acid at low temperatures. But if your recipe, for example, if your recipe is to cook the curd and take it to 50 degrees, but you still need acid production, you will have to add a thermophilic culture as well. So when you cook your curd after 40 degrees, your mesophilic culture will die. However, all the enzymes that these lactic cultures have produced during the process of from, let's say, 37 or 30 degrees or 35 degrees to 41, all this process, all this acid that has been produced on all the enzymes that have been produced will remain into the cheese. The bacteria will die, but then the thermophilic culture, because you are heating your milk or you're heating your curd, at 55, to put a number, because you're going to make Gouda, for example, or Edam cheese, and you still need to reach a pH target, because you haven't reached it there, because you use the mesophilic, and then by heating your curd, you're still having acid production. Now you need your thermophilic culture to produce this acid, and to reach until you reach the temperature of the recipe, which of the scalding recipe, which is, let's say, 55 degrees. At 55 degrees, you take it out, drain it away, because you reach, and let's say that your pH target is 5.1 okay, to put a number, or is 5.7. Okay, at way off, you reach 5.7, and then start molding the bacteria, because even though your core is warm or is hot because it's at 50 degrees, it's still alive, and the bacteria will still feeding from the lactose that is remaining into the curd, which is about 15% more or less, because the 85% is drained into the way. And this 15% of lactose will allow the bacteria to carry on acidifying your curd, and therefore your pH will carry on lowering. Okay, so after that, the syneresis of the cheese will carry on until you start ripening your cheese, and the moisture will your cheese will become drier and drier because you're aging it, and the bacteria eventually will die. When they die, all these enzymes that the thermophilic culture has produced will remain into the cheese, along with the mesophilic ones as well. So it will be a combination of enzyme from the mesophilic and enzyme from the thermophilic, and will give you a unique flavor to your cheese. Of course, you have to um, you will have to um, um, design how much mesophilic and how much thermophilic are you going to use. But I'm going to teach you that in the next class, next week. I'm going to teach you how to do it, because it's by percentage. But you decide the amount of bacteria to put, because it's going to be your cheese. Of course, if you're making, to put an example, you're making pecorino. Pecorino tells you how much bacteria you have to put in the recipe, and you need only one bacteria, Thermophilic culture. You can choose the Streptococcus thermophilus or the other one, Lactobacillus, the Lactobacillus one. It's your choice, because it says thermophilic. You can put both as well if you want. In general terms, the thermophilic culture comes in chains of two to avoid bacteriophage. The bacteriophage, you already know what it is. But anyway, if you don't know, it's when a virus attacks the bacteria, and the bacteria doesn't produce acid, but attack only one bacteria, not the other one. That's why we use when we use thermophilic cultures, they come in chains. They come mixed together, two bacteria instead of one. Okay. The ideal temperature of the bacteria, you have to heat at two temperatures. Because if you heat it, if you're going to use mesophilic, you have to allow the bacteria to grow in a mesophilic environment, which is from 29 to 35. And once you're cooking your curd, you have to allow the bacteria to grow in the range of the cooking temperature. If you're gonna, of course, you cannot cook your curd at 60 degrees, because you're gonna kill the bacteria. So you have to cook between 40 and 55. But anyway, if your recipe allows to cook your curd at 60 degrees, to put a number, you have to be aware that you're gonna kill the thermophilic cultures as well. But it doesn't matter, because the enzymes that the bacteria have produced during the heating process will remain into your cheese and will change the texture and the flavor of your cheese. But you have to be aware of that. You have to be aware that by heating at X temperature, you're going to kill the bacteria. That's the reason you have to know what the temperature of each bacteria. So if you are going to heat the curd, you have to be aware, okay, I'm going to heat my curd at 60 degrees, I'm going to kill the bacteria. It doesn't matter. So we have to do it slowly to allow the bacteria to produce acid and to produce enzymes as well. Okay. Another question is, can I put thermophilic culture for cheddar cheese? Yes, you can put thermophilic culture for cheddar cheese, of course. As I said, it's your choice. You can put both. I reckon the recipe, I don't remember I have a video of cheddar that is in my channel. It's in English. It's in Spanish, but it's captioned in English. Go and have a look. I reckon I put both. I put mesophilic and thermophilic because I needed to acidify a low temperature, and then when I started cheddar in the cheese, I put the thermophilic one. But anyway, um, I remember that I don't remember very well the recipe, but I remember that I have to cheddarize. I have to cheddar the curd. This is called cheddaring, which is to have you have to allow the once you drain all the way, you have to reach a certain level of acidity. I reckon it's pH 5.3. I don't remember the value, and you have to heat the curd. And if I put a thermophilic culture, I have to heat. I have to maintain the temperature between the thermophilic culture temperatures. Okay, between the range, which is between 40 and 45 degrees. Okay, and the cheddaring is that to maintain heat to the curd to keep it warm, so they can carry on producing acid and change the texture of the curd. Okay. Another question: what is the ideal temperature when I put thermophilic culture in the cheddar cheese? The ideal temperature is between 40 and 45 degrees. I always use 45 degrees when I use thermophilic cultures because I have realized, at least my bacteria, that at 45 the acid production is very fast. At 40 the acid production is not so fast. So this is what I do. I heat at 45 degrees, but you can heat at 40. Doesn't matter, of course. But if between 40 and 45 is all right. You can even reach 50 if you want, but no more than 50 because you might kill the bacteria. Okay. Okay, let's go and let me see. I have another question here. Mika Jade asking me, "Hi, I'm really struggling with an issue. I have which what I suspect is bacteriophage. No, this is another question. No, this is from last week, I reckon. Wait. Aha. Sharin Mondel. I've been making mozzarella for about 2 years, now, and I've never had this happen. I add citric acid and heat the milk to 90 degrees when I add my rennet. Okay. I let it set, cut my curd. This is where I'm having trouble. My curd totally dissolved when I heat it back up after cutting the curd. I've bought new rennet and even tried adding calcium chloride, not to avail. I have tried 4 different batches and all turn out the same. Could it be the milk itself? This is from a different cow and she's cycling really quick. Any help would be appreciated. Thank you. Definitely is the milk. Okay. If you are heating at 90 degrees, I presume that it's 90 degrees Fahrenheit. If you're heating at 90 degrees Celsius, that's another thing. You are just denaturing the protein because it's not 90 degrees Celsius. It's 90 degrees Fahrenheit when you scald your cheese. Okay, but if you are scalding at 90 degrees Fahrenheit, it's all right. The thing is that if your milk is if you are pasteurizing your milk, you are over pasteurizing your milk. So the thing is that you are heating your milk too much, and it might be reaching maybe 72, 75 degrees. At this temperature, you will denature the protein. So you have to, if you are pasteurizing your milk, if you're using mozzarella, you have to pasteurize your milk anyway. So if you are using, if you are heating, if you are pasteurizing too much, you will denature your protein and it won't stretch. And it won't even, I mean, when you cut it and you heat them up, you will get ricotta because you are denaturing your milk. You are denaturing your protein too much. Okay, the casein. This is what I believe. Okay. Let's say here, Catherine, how many gallons of Jersey milk do I need for a basic beginner's recipe? Well, the amount of milk that you use will be directly proportional to the amount of cheese you're gonna get. In general terms, the Jersey milk is very hot in fat. It's very high in fat. It's about 5%. I would say 4.8. I would say that half a liter. With 4 liters, you can achieve half a kilo, and make the numbers. If you don't want half a kilo, you just want a quarter of kilo of cheese, fresh cheese. I'm talking about fresh cheese. You can have 4 liters. 2 liters, and you will get more or less a quarter of a kilo. Work with this number: 8 liters of milk, 1 kilo, and then make the numbers backwards. If you want a quarter of a kilo, make 2 liters. If you want 1 kilo, make 8 liters, and so on. This is what I do. My numbers are 8 liters per kilo. This is my number on my brain. And then I start making what I want. For example, today I'm going to make mozzarella. I have friends at home after the show, and I'm going to make mozzarella the quick method with citric acid. And I'm going to make maybe 3/4 of a liter of a kilo. I'm going to make 6 liters. That's it. I do it in 1 hour. Okay? No big deal. You can do the same. What happened? Ooh, I got scared. Let's say another question. Okay, let's go with another question here. Mindo Gas. Hi, Dr. Quesero. I would like to learn and practice making mozzarella with cultures from cow's milk. Thanks. Okay, I have a video in my channel, how to make mozzarella with lactic cultures. But I'm going to give you a quick heads up. When you make mozzarella the key to make mozzarella is to control the acidity. You can do it in 2 ways: chemically or naturally. When you use citric acid, you're doing it chemically. You have to be when you make the mozzarella, you have to reach a bandwidth of acidity, which is between pH 5.1 and 5.3. If you are in this bandwidth, you will get your mozzarella. If you are on the left band, on the left side, which is below 5.1, your mozzarella is not going to stretch. If you are above 5.3, it's not going to stretch either. So you have to be within this bandwidth. This open window is very small, so you have to be really careful. And you can do it by adding acid. You can add vinegar, you can add citric acid, tartaric acid, any type, lemon juice, any type of acid. Of course, you have to be between this bandwidth. Otherwise, your mozzarella will not stretch. If you're doing your mozzarella the normal with lactic acid, which is the acid produced by the lactic cultures, this process is slower, a lot slower. And of course, your mozzarella will be yummier, will be beautiful. Okay, the flavor of the mozzarella produced with lactic culture is way different from the mozzarella produced chemically. The thing is that when you inoculate your milk with the lactic cultures, your bacteria will start producing acid, as I said before, but also will be denaturing or degrading. Uh, the word is solubilizing, denature your calcium. Okay, so when you use when you use raw milk, you don't have any problem because the level of calcium in your milk is native, is the one from the fact. Let's say from factory, from the cow. But if you pasteurize your milk, if you're using pasteurized milk to make your mozzarella, which is the correct way, you're going to denature part of the calcium. So if even though you reach your level, even though you reach your bandwidth of acidity, the when you by acidifying your curd, you will also denature the calcium. So there's going to be a lack of balance between the calcium and the acidity. That's the reason you need to put calcium chloride at the beginning, but only when you make mozzarella acidifying with lactic cultures. So because the idea is to increase the level of calcium from the beginning, so your milk is as original as possible, um, as if it were like when the milk was raw, correct? So to put, let's put a number to make it easier. When you are making mozzarella with raw milk, you have the whole amount of calcium. When you pasteurize, you lose 15%, more or less. By adding calcium chloride, you're reaching this 15% that is lost. Understood? So, and when you acidify your bacteria, when you acidify your curd due to the action of the bacteria, your milk, your curd will denature the calcium as well. But because you added calcium chloride from the beginning, you will not have any problem, and your curd will stretch perfectly. So that's my advice. If you are making mozzarella using lactic cultures, add a little bit of calcium chloride if you're using pasteurized milk. If you're using raw milk, which I do not recommend because it's not legal unless you trust your or you rely in your supplier, and your supplier have all the consents and all the permits, and it's allowed to sell raw milk, etc. Okay, no problem, do it with raw milk. But I always pasteurize my milk. And if I'm making mozzarella with lactic culture, I add calcium chloride. How much calcium chloride you gonna add? Okay, you can add calcium chloride at 30% solution or 30% concentration, and put half a milliliter per liter of milk. In other words, if you're making 10 liters of milk, of pasteurized milk, put 5 milliliters of calcium chloride, 30% solution. Okay? And make your process the whole way, the normal way. Acidifying until you reach your pH level, etc., etc., etc. Okay? Okay, and we're almost on time. We have 7 minutes left. I'm thinking in reducing the time of the program to half an hour, because 1 hour, I reckon, is a lot, but I do whatever you want to do. If you want me to carry on making doing the program 1 hour, I will do it. Don't worry. I am making the program because of you guys, and because of my audience. So, if you please, I would appreciate you to comment here in the comment. If you want a shorter program, what I would do is give the same class 15 minutes, for example, and then 15 minutes of questions and answers. So I would like to know your feedback. Okay, I would like to know your thoughts, and let me know if you want it. But anyway, I will post. I will make a post. Okay, let's carry on with the last question. Diane, I am wanting to get a sauce vide, but wondering what others prefer and how it's used. Do you put it in the pot with a developing cheese, or put the pot in a sink of larger container of water and put the sauce bit into the water. Well, look, when I was making cheese, I thought about it to use a sauce bit. A sauce bit is like an electrode that you put it into the water and the water will hit the milk and then you carry on with the process. But the the speed, the heating speed is very slow because unless you have a very big sauce bit, but they're very expensive. So it's not practical. It's not practical to have a sauce bit and heat the milk. It's better to have a cheese vat or maybe a cheese pot, a big one. I have, for example, a 15-liter pot because I make cheese at home. A 15-liter pot, I have two. So I can make 30 liters in one batch with two stoves normally. I also have a big pasteurizer of 30 liters and it's electric. And it heats the milk in 20 minutes, 30 liters, very fast. To heat the 30 liters with a sauce vide, you're going to take maybe 1 hour and a half, which is not good. You're going to waste 1 hour of your time just heating the milk. And if you have to scald the milk using the cheese, the sauce vide, it's going to be a long time. So it's not worth it. Don't put the sauce vide directly to the milk because you're going to burn your milk and you're going to damage the machine, the sauce vide. The sauce vide is to heat water, not to heat milk. Okay? So be careful with that. So my advice, don't try to invent the wheel and use a cheese pot or a cheese vat. Okay, so one more question here. Mike Kennedy, calcium chloride. How much should I be adding to my 2 liters of milk? Well, calcium chloride always comes for cheese making. The concentration of the calcium chloride solution should be 30%. Okay? If you are using, 30%. If you are using non-homogenized milk, pasteurized ones, use 30%. But if you're using homogenized milk, you have to increase the level. What I do, I realized, and I spoke with the chemist, which is a friend of mine, and I find out that when the milk is pasteurized, 15% of the calcium is lost in the pasteurization process. And I made the numbers of molarity. Well, I didn't do it myself because she did it she did it to me. How much is this 15% lost in the pasteurization in calcium chloride 30% solution? And she reached, instead of 0.5 milliliters per liter, is 10 times more, 5 milliliters per liter. So what I do when I use homogenized milk is to use 5 milliliters per liter of milk. In other words, if I use 8 liters of milk, I put 40 milliliters of calcium chloride. Of course, by adding too much calcium chloride, my curd will be bitter. So what I do is masking this bitter with salt. So to do that, I increase the level of salt and put more salt on it to mask the bitterness. This is what I do. Okay, but you can use half of it. Instead of 5 milliliters, you can use 2.5 milliliters, and your cheese will become less bitter. And use the same process. Mask the salt, mask the bitterness with salt. This is what cheesemakers do to get a good curd, because sometimes the milk from the supermarket, the homogenized one, is very cheap. The non-homogenized is, I bought it in $2, $3 a liter. The homogenized one, the cheapest, the value one, is $1, 2 liters, 50 cents per liter. Of course, this milk is not very good quality. So you need to add calcium chloride a lot to have a strong curd. Or maybe you can mix both of them. You can put a number, 2 liters of good milk, homogenized non-homogenized milk, 5% fat, and put 6 liters of cheap milk, combine it, and put the calcium chloride. And this is one way that you can save cost and produce more or less, I would say, 70% the same cheese, and you will be able to lower cost. Okay. Time's game over. Time for coming, Manal. Thanks for coming. I'll wait for you next week. And let me see if you have any questions. Calcium chloride of 40. What do you mean 40? 4 milliliters or 4 milliliters? No. 40 milliliters. No. If you are using 8 liters, 40 milliliters. Yeah, 40 milliliters. Yeah. 5 times 8, 40 milliliters of calcium chloride, 30% solution. Okay? Not 4 milliliters. Of course, but only if you're using homogenized milk. If you're using non-homogenized milk, or if you're using raw milk and are pasteurized, it's your choice if you use calcium chloride or not. Okay. For example, when I make mozzarella using the chemical way, I don't add. By the way, if you're making mozzarella using the chemical way, don't add calcium chloride, because your cheese will not stretch. Okay. If you are acidifying with lactic cultures, use calcium chloride, but only half a milliliter per liter of milk. Don't use 10 times more, because your cheese is not going to stretch. Imagine, put it in your mind, calcium chloride is the glue that agglutinates everything, all the molecules of proteins, and they get their nature by acidification. So if you put too much calcium chloride, you will not allow your curd to stretch. You need to have a certain level of calcium to allow the curd to stretch. But if you have too much calcium, it will not stretch, even though you reach your pH level, because you have too much calcium. So you have to have a certain level of calcium. So when you make mozzarella the chemical way, don't use calcium chloride. Just citric acid, or the acid, vinegar, anything. Okay. Thanks for coming, guys. Next week we're gonna go and finish this part of the program. I'm gonna teach you now with numbers how to combine them, what to do, what percentage. Normally, when you read the books of the cheese making books, they'll tell you put 2.5% of starter culture. I'm going to teach you how to do that. 2.5% is a very complicated word. So I'm going to tell you how to calculate the grams, the number of grams, the grams to put in the bacteria. 50 grams, 20 grams, 1 gram, etc. Okay? But I'm going to teach you that next week. Okay? So thanks for coming. Once again, if you want to learn how to make I didn't put the link. Did I put the link? I didn't put the link. Let me put the link of the course so you can have it. As I said, the course will be in English. It's captioned in English, Spanish, Chinese traditional, Arabic, and Hindi. So you will be able to learn. Here it is. Okay. In any of these languages. Okay. So this is the link, and see you next week. And I always says, eat cheese, because life without cheese is like a love without a kiss.
Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor quesero te enseña con sabor. Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor quesero te enseña con sabor. Quesos colombianos y venezolanos, todo hecho en tu casa, con sabor zuliano y calor humano. Los quesos en casa tienen vitaminas, rápidos de hacer, en cualquier cocina, tan fácil como pelar mandarinas. Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor quesero te enseña con sabor. Quesitos en casa, fáciles de hacer son. El doctor quesero te enseña con sabor. Hago queso hermano, también queso pera, costeño matera,